Every morning the world starts quietly, one soft light at a time. Homes flicker awake, shops open. People take those first small steps into a brand new day. And in all of that ordinary movement, there's something kind of extraordinary. A moment worth noticing, a spark you feel before you even name it. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's small, but kindness shows up right on time. And every morning we choose to show up with you so we can look for that spark together.
Good morning. I'm Matt Rouff, the Uncommon Kindness Guy, and this is Kindness Rising. Let's rise together.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Kindness Rising, your morning dose of hope, humanity, and heart right here on the Mornings in the Lab Network. I am glad you've chosen to join me here where we rise above the noise and get after it with hope, humanity, and heart. Thank you so much. And we are continuing our conversation this week regarding business cycles and all the ups and downs and how businesses grow and change and the problems that happen along the way and stories of businesses known, maybe unknown, that have lived through these experiences. If you're out there in the community, please get involved in the chat. That's what we love. We love it when you subscribe. We love it when you get involved in the chat. That's what we are doing here on Kindness Rising, is building a community. A community? What's a community? I don't know, but I just said it. A community of people who want to get up and get after it every day, right here on the Mornings in the Lab Network, starting with Kindness Rising at 7:30, and then moving on to Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and Friends at 8, and checking out Cheryl Raphael Whitaker's weekly show, and checking out Brianna Bass, who shows up on Tuesdays, and John Petrocelli on Fridays, and the whole crew all week long. We continue to build the network. Be on the lookout for our new shows in development too. Always. Good morning. Mike Sullivan, you are here. All right. Self-improvement and overflow to help others. Absolutely. I appreciate you, Mike. Thank you so much. I hope those who have joined will get involved in the chat. Say hello, subscribe to the channel, and now we'll get into some of our content, the things that we're talking about today, the business cycles, some of the stories, some surprising sweet stories. Apparently sugar was on my mind because we're going to talk about two sweet companies and what they experienced through growth. But here's the thing about growth. When it comes, people are interested. Momentum's building. It's feeling amazing. And then all of a sudden, crack, all the systems break down. The team gets too stretched. The emails are in and you're inundated. Boom. Can't keep up. And suddenly everyone's running around asking, how do we handle all this? What are we going to do? I need help. We need to hire people. That is the growth stage. It's the phase where success begins, but complexity arrives with it. That's what we're talking about here today on Kindness Rising. All right. Again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Kindness Rising, where we're talking about the growth stage of our business phases. There they are, the business phases. We are back in action with that. And we've talked about the whole overall model, the ideation, the startup. And today we're in growth, where we're looking to scale. We figured our thing out. We're starting to get customers. Now, in order to grow, we got to open up our doors to more people. And the things that we had to do when we had 5 or 50 customers are not the same as the things that we have to do when we have 500 customers. We need system thinkers and people who can sell to grow the product, right? And scale is what it's all about. How can we build systems that can be repeated more efficiently with less effort? absolutely, in building those systems and what those systems require from our six strings. Obviously, growth. This is growth. This is what growth is all about. But also finding that balance between growing and continuing to stay true to yourself. Those are some of the challenges that we have, and understanding how the business model can work while keeping your brand intact. So that's what we're doing today. All right, on Kindness Rising. Growth. Growth is gross. No, growth is amazing. I'm trying to get the sound balanced for us. I hope everybody is hearing everything okay today. All right. Of course, growth is what every startup hopes for: customers, revenue, momentum. But of course, and growth also creates a new set of challenges, because systems that worked when you had 5, I said it before, don't work when you have 500. Absolutely. The team that handled everything when there were just 3 or 4 of you can't manage everything when there are 30, right? And growth forces organizations to evolve. Your processes have to change. Leadership has to expand. You have to give things up, negotiate things. Infrastructure is built. It's exciting, but it can also be very demanding. And we're going to talk about two sweet stories about growth in business. But first, a quick check-in. There's Mike Sullivan and Roseanne getting after it in the chat. I hope everybody else will. Tell me, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? What? Did I just switch gears on you? It's getting to be spring, summertime. Everyone's going to be getting into that ice cream. So what is your favorite flavor of ice cream out there? Is one of them, and maybe what's your favorite brand? What ice cream do you love? I love, from my friends over in Vermont, Ben and Jerry's. You're a mint chocolate chip guy, Sully. Awesome. Awesome. I love my guys, Ben and Jerry, Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield, who started Ben and Jerry's. Their story is crazy, because if you think about it, I don't know if people know this, how Ben and Jerry's got started. 2 dudes in Burlington, Vermont in 1978 take a $5 correspondence course from Penn State, how to make ice cream. $5 they paid, which probably in 1978 was not nothing. I don't know. I'd have to figure out, but it was $5. Even so, whatever they paid for it. 2 friends making ice cream, experimenting with flavors, trying to do things on a little renovated gas station on the side of the road with no fancy equipment or a big strategy. All they had was their creativity and willingness to try things, right? Absolutely. And actually, one of Ben and Jerry's most famous attributes was actually based on an interesting limitation that they had. One of the owners, I think it was Ben, had a reduced sense of smell and taste. And so he loved ice cream with big chunks and textures, because that was part of the experience for him. That's how we ended up with Chunky Monkey and Cherry Garcia and those ice creams with all the big chunks. Absolutely. All right, freedom. Welcome. Yes, Tillamook Coffee Almond's a great choice, Mom. Roseanne, Tillamook Creamery from Oregon. And freedom is here for trying to the Colorado River toad. Oh boy. Are you into those kind of Iowa? Yep. I see what you're all about. Freedom. I have heard of people who've had some success with some of those very same things. Of course, we don't promote anything here. We promote investigation and curiosity, and that's okay. But I have actually heard of lots of success with psilocybin mushrooms and cannabis and other natural substances for a variety of disorders and problems and concerns, and I believe in it. So, but I think it should be done with professionals who have experience and definitely medical advice or whatever. I am not a physician. Sounds like a great story. They had the what and the why, and the how later showed up. That's right, Mike. That's right, Mike Sullivan. Absolutely. Absolutely. That was what they did. That's what Ben and Jerry did. But what happened was people started growing, right? The ice cream started growing, the lines were getting longer, demand grew, stores wanted their ice cream, stores wanted ice cream in their on their shelves, and so growth got hard. And that requires a completely different skill set. And even Ben Cohen himself, the guy who had trouble tasting in chunks, I guess Ben was the guy who was able to step up and say, "Guess what, guys? This isn't for me." Leading this large organization, he loved the creativity in the product, but scaling systems and managing a large company, those require different strengths, right? And so it was his self-awareness that allowed them to finally bring in professional help and a classical growth stage lesson. The skills that start a company are not always the skills that scale it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, I love Ben and Jerry's. I love the Ben and Jerry's brand, not just because their ice cream is amazing. And yes, I love Tillamook and I love Giffords, and I love ice cream. And there are some amazing local homemade places around here too. But that's not the point. The point is that Ben and Jerry didn't just decide; they decided that they weren't going to just sell ice cream as the company grew. They made a conscious decision, not just to sell more ice cream, but to grow with purpose, to give back, to use fair trade ingredients and environmental sustainability, of course, community impact, and the brands that they collaborate with are all about that. From Dave Matthews Band to Jimmy Fallon to Jerry Seinfeld. I'm trying to think of the other collabs that they have. Of course, Fish Food and Cherry Garcia, the Grateful Dead, are two of the huge ones too, and they've had others, Colbert, Fallon, I can't remember. There's a bunch of them, but all those bands, organizations, celebrities, they all choose to align with Ben and Jerry's in a mission of giving back. If you read what their flavors, their special flavors are, they're all about giving back, not just promoting their own brand. And that's the expansion of values. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Taking a sip and getting back to it. So that's one sweet story. Ben and Jerry's one sweet story of growth in business. We're going to keep rocking as we do the growth stage. And you guys know what this song is, the one people who have been with me over and over again. This is our kindness spotlight. This is where we shine a light on organizations or people that have purpose-driven ventures that are growing and leaning into the subjects that we talk about here on Kindness Rising. And today's organization is an organization called Acumen. Acumen invests in companies focused on solving major global challenges, things like affordable health care, clean energy, and education access. Excuse me. They are an investment organization. They're helping social enterprises scale their impact so they can serve more communities around the world. As a reminder that growth isn't just about revenue, it can also mean expanding positive impact. That's Acumen, ACUMEN, an investment organization focused on growth and a positive impact. I'm supposed to fade the music out. No, it doesn't like me right now. There it goes. All right, I'm learning my way around the buttons. All right, it's supposed to fade out though. All right, good. That was fun. That was fun while it lasted. Still trying to figure out those audio buttons, learning on the fly as we go. Absolutely. We're going to get to our second story. Our second story of sweet growth for sure is coming up. We talked about ice cream, another organization that didn't have the same kind of adaptability and success that Ben and Jerry's had. Of course, Ben and Jerry's went through their stresses and things. But this organization, while an amazing and known product, a great brand that really stands out in this market, but had some trouble adapting over time. Because remember, growth doesn't just reward success, growth also tests the strengths of the systems underneath it. So if the systems don't evolve, growth can actually break your business entirely. When orders are coming in faster than they can be filled, and customer service gets overwhelmed, and teams become confused about roles, the leaders spend all their time reacting instead of planning, and suddenly the very thing everyone wanted, growth, becomes the thing creating the chaos. And of course, there's a very well-known example of this. We're getting back into our sweets. That's Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme with those hot donuts in the early 2000s, they really struggled. The company experienced explosive growth. You guys remember when Krispy Kreme landed on the scene? It seemed like there was a hot donut sign on every corner and everybody was talking about them, and the logo became iconic, and the little hats that they gave kids to wear, and everything was great. And then all of a sudden they couldn't figure it out. The systems couldn't keep up with the growth. The expansion was happening faster than the organization could actually manage, and so things got complicated and way more expensive and inconsistent, and eventually the company had to close a bunch of stores, basically go back to square one and restructure. Now they've come back and they've figured it out. But Krispy Kreme almost didn't exist in the early 2000s and almost sank itself because growth revealed the weakness in the company and how it was scaling, right? And so the lesson isn't that growth, the lesson is that growth doesn't destroy the organization. That's what I'm trying to say. Unprepared growth does. If the leadership systems, the process, and the infrastructure don't evolve, then momentum turns into stress, and stress eventually turns into decline. Absolutely. But the good news is, there is good news in this. The good news is that leaders who can see the early warning signs can adapt, strengthen their systems, and clarify those roles to make sure that the growth goes well. That's Krispy Kreme and the growth and decline, and how we almost didn't have, the donuts. B. McIntosh dropping in with some stuff about the Kratom. I've seen it all over. Absolutely. There's definitely a lot to say in that area related to Big Pharma and the way that, unfortunately, we all know the well-documented story of how Big Pharma got people hooked. Some organizations who paid a dear price for that, but the human cost has been unbelievable in our opioid crisis. Absolutely. And if people are struggling out there, please find ways to find help. There are people who care about you if you're struggling. And that's what we bring here to Kindness Rising. We always turn it into a positive because we want to be here to support people and lift people up. Absolutely. Aldi's is growing. Absolutely, Roseanne. It is interesting to watch them pop up all over the place. As a matter of fact, I just saw yesterday, it's interesting, I mean, they've been huge in Europe for years, and as a matter of fact, they're considered like the knockoff bad brand in Aldi's, right? Or in Europe. There was a whole thing about people carrying Aldi's bags and judgment, and I don't remember all this interesting stuff. But whereas in America, it's almost become not a luxury brand, but a noticed and interesting brand. But in Europe, Aldi's, like, I heard a story of a guy who was talking about being embarrassed because he had to bring his lunch to school in an Aldi's bag. But yeah, they bought up all the Winn-Dixies. Yep, Winn-Dixie is going out. Yeah, interesting stuff going on in that grocery business. Absolutely, especially as food prices have gone up, 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 up. Absolutely. Oh yeah, Snapple. Absolutely. Snapple drink, right? They had some struggles. That's another great great point. I used to love the message, right? You'd open up the top. That was the coolest thing, right? That was a connection that they made. They did some great branding. Jerry Ginger, welcome in, buddy. Glad you have joined us this morning again. Seen you a couple times in here. We are talking about growth. We've talked about a few brands that have gone through growth concerns and growth lessons that we learned. We talked about Ben and Jerry's. We talked about Krispy Kreme. We're talking about Snapple and Aldi's and other brands. Wiggly Wiggly. Wiggly Wiggly. Oh, Piggly Wiggly or Wiggly Wiggly? Is there a Wiggly Wiggly too? Piggly Wiggly Wiggly Wiggly. We're Wegmans people up here in the north. Absolutely. Wegmans. I'm watching that Wegmans grow and change. I know Piggly Wiggly. I knew what you meant, Jerry Ginger. Anybody else connected with Wegmans or no Wegmans? Started right nearby here, where my sister lives in Rochester, New York. And it was this little grocery store in Rochester. And boom, 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 they are growing like crazy. Dick's Sporting Goods, another one from right here in the area that I am in upstate New York. Another huge growth story. Now we're just name dropping companies. Oh, Jerry Ginger, you're a Kroger guy. Okay. So you must be Midwest, right? Isn't Kroger in Ohio and all that? I think Ohio, Kentucky. I'm pretty sure. First time I ever was in a Kroger was when I had an ex-girlfriend who went to college in Ohio, and we went to Kroger. I was like, what the hell is a Kroger? But apparently, yeah. Anyway, total tangent here. Absolutely. We've done our kindness spotlight. We're talking about the Krispy Kreme, absolutely, and also our 6 strings, right? We want to get back to the 6 strings of the buyer of them all. It's Dillon's, King's, Kroger, all. Yeah. It's a big publicly traded company, right? Right? Yeah, absolutely. All across the U.S. Yeah. Anyway, growth, that's going to activate two importance of our 6 strings. We know our 6 strings: kindness, balance, growth, curiosity, self-awareness, and action. I forgot my 6th string for a second there. Sometimes I forget because I'm thinking about growth. Growth itself, of course, is the stage requiring constant learning and organizations adapting their systems and leadership styles and strategies as they scale, because what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. So we want to stay focused on that growth string and understand that. And then balance, of course, balance, because growth can feel overwhelming. Teams burn out, leaders push too hard, and balance reminds organizations to grow sustainably, consistently, day after day, not just quickly, not just blow up and burn out, right? But slowly, consistently, day after day, doing the same things over and over again. And as the leaders, recognizing when that is getting overwhelming for our teams and trying to help to alleviate that. Absolutely. All right. Yeah, those were our 6 strings related to growth as we continue the conversation here on Kindness Rising about business models and how business grows, the cycles of business. That's what we're talking about this week. A little bit different week. Maybe we'll bring back some of the other stuff next week, or we can add maybe how we're feeling about these things. Try to do that a little bit with the emotional intelligence stuff. But just balancing what we talk about here. But we always talk about good things. We always talk about things that are uplifting, that are hopeful. Adapt or die. We talk about adapting or dying here with Jerry Ginger. Absolutely. That is part of the deal. Absolutely. And that's what we're going to actually bring that into tomorrow as we get into the maturity phase of our business. Once our business grows and we're rocking and rolling and we've adjusted our systems and we've found leadership, that can take years, decades, whatever the case may be, and you reach that maturity phase in your business. Absolutely. So we're going to talk about what happens when we get to that phase. All right. This is a nice bright. This is called the compass theme. What do we think? I like it. Got that MIDI horn sound to it. Kind of fun. Can't say it doesn't have some energy to it, but a little funk. I don't know. Now I'm dancing. Okay. All right. We're also having fun because this is your kindness compass. Here's something to think about today. Where in your life are things starting to grow? Maybe it's a business, maybe it's a project, maybe it's an idea that's just gaining traction. Growth can be exciting, but it also requires new systems. So as you're thinking about your growth, make sure you're testing and understanding, is my system going to sustain me for the long run as things grow, right? Sometimes you have to think of things in a new way. Absolutely. Once you hit that maturity stage and you got to hit that next phase, the next plateau comes, got to hit that next level. Sometimes that requires a new way of thinking. So check your life for where it's starting to grow. Hopefully it's growing somewhere, right? We all have growth areas and areas where we are in decline or are letting go of things or whatever the case may be. But where are the areas that you're growing? Where are the areas that you're growing, and what systems do you need to put in place to help grow with it in order for that momentum to last? Absolutely. Thank you for joining me here on Kindness Rising every weekday morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow's going to be a special day too. I hope if you're out there, you'll come back and check it out, because tomorrow's going to be a real test for me. For me, it's going to be a test. So maybe you'll see something a little bit different. I'm going out on the road, and we're going to do Kindness Rising from a remote location, not from the Foxton studio, but from somewhere else. I don't know where. Bringing all my equipment, and we're going to figure it out. I know where I'm going, but I don't know how the setup's going to be. But we'll figure it out. It's all right, because I come here every weekday morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, to help you get up with a little hope, humanity, and heart right here on the Mornings in the Lab Network. And I hope you'll continue to stick with us. Get on over to Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and friends. Check out Mornings in the Lab Network. Check out mitl.network. We're growing like crazy. If you want to know more about what we're doing here at Mornings in the Lab, if you're curious about what's going on in the studio, if you're curious about how we are moving along with human and AI worlds, mixed reality worlds, I come here live every day. But go over, check out those channels. Remember what we're doing with regard to the worlds colliding. We're building worlds, we're building brands. And I'll be bringing more of that to my show eventually. Again, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so that's it. The growth stage. The growth stage is where possibilities start to become realities, right? Growth is not just about getting bigger, though. It's about getting better, because when organizations grow with intention, they don't just scale operations, they scale their impact. And in doing that, they're able to continue to grow and mature and have more of an influence in the world, which is what we do right here on Kindness Rising every weekday morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. I will see you tomorrow from our remote location. And until then, stay uncommon and stay kind. What if your mornings could be inspiring and ridiculously fun?
Kindness Rising isn't just a show, it's a full wake-up vibe.
It's freaking fun, people.
Yeah, man, it's got real get-after-it energy.
I love it.
Wake up with Kindness Rising.
I help purpose-driven people grow their impact. 5-ingredient recipe to help you build your personal brand. Get out there and take kind action.
If it's live, they'll feel it.
On Kindness Rising, we bring you proven strategies and fresh ideas you can actually use. If you're not failing, you're not trying.
Exactly. Fail fast, rebound faster.
You'll see the bloopers and the genuine connections that make kindness contagious. We sometimes get into a little bit of trouble.
Pretty much my life made the list.
You can trust what you see right here is honest, respectful, and uplifting. Social impact organizations, and we always talk about them. Try kindness. It's way cheaper than therapy. You just made my day.